Mm.
It appears we are live. Hello, everyone. This is Arnold Mangioli for Grateful, Ready, Open, Willing, with four of my favorite people whose faces you may recognize from our conversation 2 years ago when the Black Lives Matter movement in the Broadway community came forward in a big way after the murder of George Floyd in May of 2020. I asked these four wonderful people with whom I have history and who I know and respect and let's just be upfront, adore if they would come and talk to us because these are people with incredible hearts and great compassion. And I thought it would be really wonderful to bridge for some of us who were confused about some of what was going on then to help promote some understanding. And they were so gracious as to do so. And it's been about 2 years since then. So I asked them to come back. And if we could look at things again uh, from the filter of, as someone once said very recently, the before times to where we are now. And a few things I want to say before we start and before I introduce this wonderful panel. The first is Grateful, Ready, Open, Willing exists in the hope that you will get something out of what we do here and you will pay it forward by contributing to the Actors Fund and or Broadway Cares. Even if it's $5, those of you who are listening live, those of you who watch this on replay, if there's 600 of you, that's like $3,000, which is going to help one or two actors pay their rent this month if they are still suffering from the consequences of the unemployment from the pandemic. And I know our mindset is like we're done with it, but we're not sure it's done with us. So we're all in a different place, and I ask you all to please respect one another in the chat as well as our panelists. I think everybody's going through this in a different way, and everyone's processing this in a different way. Our hearts are in many places. Our hearts are in the Broadway community, in the theater community and entertainment community at large. Our hearts are with the people in the Ukraine. Our hearts are really being spread very thin right now and pulled in many different directions. So I ask you please to open your heart and listen this evening, and also to contribute to the community at large through the Actors Fund and Broadway Cares. No one has appeared on Grow with any kind of compensation since we started doing this over 2 years ago. So I ask you to keep that in mind. And if there's something you get out of it, that's one way that you can give back. Okay, a few housekeeping things. We are broadcasting through StreamYard, which means when you make a comment, it will not show up with your name. So please type your name in at the beginning of the comment. Otherwise, it says, as this one does, Facebook user, and we don't know who you are. That's got to do with the StreamYard Facebook thing. Okay, so that is that. And yes, one last thing. The format of this is what we call in life coaching a brilliant conversation. What makes it brilliant are two things. One is listening. We always listen to the person who's speaking before us and then speak in response to what they said, rather than having an idea in our head that we're going to just put forth. And the other thing is there is no conclusion that is reached in a brilliant conversation. It is a sharing of ideas. The most successful version of a brilliant conversation is when we stop talking and sometime later you think about something you heard, you reflect upon it, it comes into your mind the next morning when you're taking a shower or sometime during the day. So that's the only goal tonight, is to share some ideas and to stimulate one another's minds a little bit. I believe that's all the housekeeping. And now I am honored truly to introduce four of my favorite people on planet Earth. Uh, Alphabetically, that would be Terry Burrell, an actress who, as a casting director, you always say to any creative team, the only question is if she's available because she's always working. That's kind of how we talk about you when you're not around. And the most fabulous Danielle Greaves, who has an extraordinary resume and who is truly one of the most like show up for your life and do it people I have ever known. And I'm interested to hear where we're at now. SAHR, who is currently performing in Moulin Rouge as Broadway makes its return and has been so gracious as to give us some time on his one night off this week. He may need to depart a little bit early. I'm going to try to keep this whole thing under an hour. And finally, my brother from another mother, Kenneth L. Roberson, a man I just have known for so long and have loved every second of that. And my only regret when I die will be that we didn't get to spend more time together. Okay, and maybe there was probably that one time on the beach in Provincetown in my life. That's something else, nothing to do with this conversation. Okay, but I'm going to turn it over to all of you. I'm going to be the white guy tonight and listen because when this movement started in a big way in the theater community, it was really about hearing the voices of the Black members of our community so that we could grow and change. And I know the last time we spoke, you really had that effect on me and many people who listened and tuned in. So the first question I have is, these days, now that we're 2 years later, what has your personal experience been of the progress or the non-progress we have made in this area of our community and our world? I know I have my own experiences, but it's going to be so much more beneficial for me to hear yours. Anyone feel free to jump in.
Well, just in general, people have become more conscious and aware, just in general, and curious, I think. You know, in our industry, it is interesting to see the change in terms of leads in Broadway shows, because I think regional theater had gotten it a long time ago. It's the Broadway initiative, which is completely different. That
Pays
really
a lot more.
Yeah, didn't get it in terms of Black folk can play princesses and green people on and you know, phantoms, and there's a part of me that's very gratified to see it and happy for them, but there's another part of me that says, why did it take so long? What is the big friggin' deal? You know, and if what it is that, you know, people always, they'll ask actors or choreographers or directors, well, actors mainly, why is that? And I always think, well, what are you asking us for? Ask the producers, ask them, you know. And I mean, I can understand it. I can understand the fear that they might turn some people off and lose audience members. I don't know that that's ever happened. But from my perspective, I think, no, you're going to gain audience members, because if people can see themselves on a stage, they will pay the money to come and see it. I'll never forget when I did Into the Woods and Felicia Rashad came in as the witch. You couldn't get a seat in that theater. And the people who used to signal me from the audience, put their thumbs up and give me the okay sign, whatever, they got it. You know, and I thought, here's a wasted opportunity in so many of these shows. On Broadway specifically is what I'm talking about.
And that was the last century, Felicia doing Into the Woods. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, we're still excited in, you know, it's, remember when you were a kid and some Black people came on to you, said, colored.
Yeah.
Colored people were on TV. Oh my Lord.
Danielle is bursting.
In 2022.
Danielle is bursting to chime in. Tell us.
No,
what
I
happened.
was just saying, when she was saying, you know, you saw someone Black come on stage and you were like, oh my God, it's me. It's me. I see me. It's like the little baby who saw the cartoon Encanto and saw the character and was like, that's me. Or the little girl who saw Hamilton and saw Philippa Sue and was like, that's me. It's you have that initial feeling of, oh my God, so this is doable because I see me.
Yeah.
I let other people talk, but I have to address this to producers out there. You know, Black folk now, people of color, have disposable income. Lots of disposable, and are very sophisticated. So if we see ourselves on that stage, we're going to spend money and buy tickets. Not just Black folk, but other people who have been basically excluded for decades.
Yeah.
Well, the notion of this new world, I feel a little I feel like a sore winner. I have to be patient and be grateful for this time. But it makes me feel like where were you thinking of this? Where were you before? Not just in theater, but in the corporate world or in the magazine world. Oh, someone's been named co-associate producer, co-director, co. It's as it feels like I'm being placated to, and it makes me a little it aggravates me because you have people in the box office with MFAs counting money in the box office. They have MFAs from Black people from these great HBCUs, and these people are right under your nose. And then all of a sudden, you can call me, or you can call people and ask me where to find these people. And I would say, well, they're down the street in the school. You can invite them to come. You can cultivate the audience by inviting these people to your theater to dress rehearsals, and which I've always tried to. My pat on the back is that when I'm at these places, even since the 90s, I always said, find me a person of color to assist me in this show, to get me in the room, to get them in the room. And a few of these people have come to New York, have been very successful, and most of them were from HBCU. So that is my frustration, is that it's hard to me to enjoy a lot of it because I haven't let go of a lot of what they did not let go of. So I need to chill.
I hear you.
I had a situation. I will agree with Terry that there is an awareness that is very clear. Whether there's change, I haven't worked enough. I've been sitting on my couch doing a lot of waiting for the world to begin. And the little stuff that I did, readings, little things here and there were situations where, it was a lot of expounding about how this is a safe room. And if there's anything that bothers you, because of course, if you've got white people and Black people in the room, it's a white Black story. So then we've got white Black issues. And even before all of the expressions of this is a safe room, I've always spoken up. I've always been that person who's been like, I'm sorry, that doesn't feel right to me. And I'm the pariah. I'm the one with the black glove now militant while everybody else stands on the side and doesn't want to have this smoke that I've created. But I've always been that person who's like, this doesn't feel right, and gotten full on backlash, full on repercussions. There's always been something, unless it's a more dominantly Black room. But if it's predominantly white or the creative team is all white, it's been an issue. Recently, this summer, I did a workshop and it was the whole thing. This is a safe room and don't worry, we know, blah, 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 blah. And we came up to the Black number. And it's always been the situation of, we're going to write these stories for you. We're going to write your story for you, even though you've never lived it. And we expect you to deliver it. And we don't really want to hear about how you feel about it. We're going to say we do, but we don't really want to. We want you to stand and deliver, darky, because that's what you do. You sing well, you dance well, you do all the things well, and that's all we really care about. So the situation came up. We had a tough racial song. It was hard for people to grasp because it wasn't just that the notes were tricky. It was the subject. You can't terrain slavery to present day in a song and expect it for us to just be like, we're going to do this because we're good. It comes with stuff, which I voiced, like I always do. I said, this is hard. And I didn't say any more than that. I didn't feel any more than that was necessary because this is a safe space. This is a safe room, all the things. And I got the same look. I got that look that, I didn't really mean for you to share how you felt. I don't really care about that. I just want you to stand and deliver, darky. But then he caught himself and had to back because it's not just me and him, it's the room. And everyone's looking at how you're going to react now. And it was, I hear you, but just sing the song. And I was like, oh, okay. So now I know where I am in this room, in this space, in this time. That people are acknowledging the change exists, but they're not ready for the change. And I don't know about the younger generation of creatives who have maybe a different mindset, but the older generation of creatives are still in this place that I understand and acknowledge. Well, I don't know about understand. I acknowledge and appreciate, but I'm not sure I'm ready to understand and support your feelings behind it.
And this was a recent experience, Danielle. This was a pandemic, during the pandemic experience.
In the summer.
Saw, what has your experience been?
Well, coming back to work, it's been quite interesting. There are things that I can talk about specifically that relate to the production that I'm on.
If you feel comfortable, I think that's going to be helpful.
Yeah, I will speak on some of that, and also other things going on in certain Broadway productions since post shutdown that have informed the way of working inside of the production that I'm on now, which is Moulin Rouge. And one of the interesting phenomena that began post shutdown, post uprising, has been HR. And on, I don't know how many productions, but on some of the bigger ones, we now have HR departments, which did not exist in the language or the whole genome of theater. It is now happening, at least in New York. There's HR, and there's also there's a division of people working to focus specifically on inclusion, understanding, working better together, not stepping on each other's toes, which in some cases, I know in the case of Moulin Rouge, also includes, if you'd like to see a therapist, you know, we can provide that for you as well. Talk through your issues. Yeah, so before we could start working, everybody working on the show, actors, swing, crew, producers, we all had to go through, I can't remember the name of what it's called.
Was it racial sensitivity training?
Sensitivity training, absolutely. Yeah. Racial sensitivity training, people sensitivity training, you know, gender sensitivity training, like the whole gamut. And, you know, we spent days and hours doing it. And, you know, I think it definitely made a difference. It's definitely different than what was going on before. You know, there are things set up to where if you're feeling like there's something that you want to talk about that you're not sure how to address, you are instructed to like call one of the people on staff, you know, the inclusivity people, to talk to them about how you're feeling. You can do it anonymously or put your name out there. And, you know, if it's just a small thing, you can talk through it. If it's a big thing, there's an investigation. With HR, you know, you can pick and choose how you want to move with it. You know, HR is related to the producers. If you have a problem with the producers, you got to think about how you want to approach it, because the business is still the business. But, you know, all those things exist now, you know, and I've seen people go through it on my production. I've heard about people going through it on other productions, and, you know, it's a mixed bag of people's way of dealing with it. What works, what doesn't work, you know, what, you know, gets improved, you know, what feels like, I don't know. But it's definitely a new paradigm. And I definitely think it's for the better. But obviously it's going to take time for something like that to, I mean, look, people are people. you know, and for however long individuals have been on this planet and the experiences that they've had that inform the way that they behave, the way that they conduct business, the way that they associate with others, you know, it is what it is, you know, and some people aren't going to change overnight. You know, some people might do what they need to do to make sure they keep their job. It doesn't change how they feel, but it might change how they behave. And, you know, I think it's probably going to be, you know, a few generations before the types of things that we are talking about right now actually, you know, get into people's sort of lifestyle and the way that they look at the world deep enough, you know, to make huge impacts, you know, like, yeah, you know, there are young people right now, you know, in Brooklyn, I know, I'm sure in some other parts of New York as well, but, you know, I talk to parents in Brooklyn, you know, and they talk about what their kids are doing in school and what they're discussing with their teachers. And it's like, well, that is, when I was that age, like nobody was saying these sorts of things. Nobody was pulling our coattail and asking us to consider this or that. You know, it was exactly the opposite. You know, people were pushing us in completely other directions. So, you know, if those kids are getting that, you know, at 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, okay, by the time they're 40, 50, it might be a different world. But in the meantime, you know, step by step.
Well, the thing that's so extraordinary about your situation is you were in the same job. If anyone has not seen SAHR in Moulin Rouge, please get a ticket immediately. It's an incredible
Next time I'm in New York, definitely.
You get there. But you pre-pandemic, you were in that role, in that show, in that environment with those producers at that theater, and then it shut down for close to 2 years, and then you came back and you went back to the same theater, the same show, the same role, the same environment, the same producers. But it sounds like there has been a significant change, like efforts have truly been made there.
Oh yeah, major, definitely, 100%. And I commend the producers for doing everything that they can to make that change. And I am aware of other productions that have been doing the same. You know, so I mean, I think the efforts are 100% commendable and exactly what needs to be happening. And you know, it'll take time for people to change, but trying to like change the structure means everything. And I'm definitely, it's happening. It's definitely happening.
It's also interesting to me just noting your experience and Danielle's experience and the difference of the production levels financially, like how much money is at stake for the producers and where they show up for it in a certain way and where they feel like they can say to you, all right, but just sing the song. You know, it's, you put a few $1 million behind that and maybe there's a shift in awareness and respect and communication.
There wasn't necessarily before, but maybe now there will be.
That's my hope. That's my hope.
Yeah, no, I mean, and there's also, you know, because people want to see that, it's, you know, it could be looked at as financially beneficial for producers to make the effort, you know, and so, you know, hopefully that continues to be the trend, and it doesn't matter if producers have their heart behind it or not. You know, if they set the thing in motion, you know, and again, things don't change overnight, but if it's set in motion, you know, hopefully, you know, by and by, I mean, there's kids in high school right now learning the shows that we're doing on stage who are already having an opportunity to think about approaching the industry or coming into an industry that might be different. And it will be different. Whatever industry those kids right now who are learning these shows are going to enter into, it's not going to be the same thing that we met when we walked in or that we're dealing with today.
You know, SAHR, what I am encouraged by when I listen to you is that it's not just the actors that are going through sensitivity training. It's everybody that's connected to the show. It's the crew.
Yeah.
And the actors as well.
Yeah.
You know, because sometimes that's where you find a huge difference in attitude.
Absolutely. 100%.
You see? So that you truly become a family.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and you can feel any way you want to. It's about respecting each other.
Yeah.
You know, and when you go through these sensitivity trainings, this is the focus of that. It's the whole family has to go through it.
Yeah.
That's the only way it's going to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, or as Bill T. Jones would say, community. You know,
Yes, it is a community.
yeah.
I love that. Yeah, I remember in the last century, I was involved with something that was then called the Non-Traditional Casting Project, and one of the efforts of that project was to look at cultivating and developing the Black audience for Broadway. And I remember Sharon Jensen, wonderful lady, saying to me, "Arnold, you must understand, it's not just what you're doing in the casting. It's the experience that a Black patron has when they approach the box office. You're not
Yeah.
talking to the box office people. You don't know what that encounter's like. You know, if people are turned off to an experience, we have to look at every leg of that experience." And so I hear you, Terry. I hear you with that. What can we do? What would you say to the people listening, those of us who want to help, who want to keep this moving forward? Are there things we can do that maybe we're not thinking of, or that in your experience you would say, well, if I had to say one thing to you as a white person, as a Black person, as a member of this community, whatever, I would say to you, this would really help. What would that be?
Well, for me, I found something that was very interesting that I didn't think it would be me. The patience with people who do not understand, who are afraid to ask questions. I think a lot of white people that I've been around are people that are not of color. I mean, not Black Americans. I mean, it's just all these words. Black Americans, a lot of people that are not Black Americans are sort of afraid to ask certain questions. And I usually, and a lot of times, you know, we read about, and I talked to some of my students when I was teaching, that we're tired of teaching. And I was tired of teaching, but if I'm in a certain space and there's a certain trust there, sometimes I need to answer those questions from my experience. Sometimes I don't know if it's teaching, but sharing with people who've earned to know who've earned to get the information. So for me,
That's
I think is to be more open and know that people are ignorant to certain things, that they have fear and trepidation. And I'm open enough to say, well, this happened because blah, 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 blah. Really? I say, yes, really, because my father told me blah, 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 and I experienced blah, 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 blah. So within whatever I'm going through about these new things and these new things that I term as being placating, I need to find the positivity in me to be patient enough to answer questions from people who sincerely want to know the answer.
yeah.
Well, that's the key. If a person sincerely wants to know the answer, because if you ask me the question, I'm open to questions all the time. I am totally open to discussion. But know this, if you're going to ask me a question and I know the answer, I'm going to share that answer. All right. And it might make you feel uncomfortable, or it might make you feel like I'm preaching. I'm not. I'm very logical, I'm very practical, and I am knowledgeable. So, I'm going to share that answer with you. And most of my white friends are very woke people. But when this George Floyd uh, event took place, I got calls with people saying, "What can I do?" It reminds me of this quote from Desmond Tutu: "Do your little good from where you are." Because when those little goods come together, they overwhelm the world. So it starts with us, and it starts with all of us, Black and white and Asian, being accountable for how we think and for what comes out of our mouths, and to be really accountable with ourselves. So, I said, there are going to be moments. Educate yourself, yes, read, but what about when you're at the dinner table at Thanksgiving and grandpa, whatever, and auntie, whoever, says something that's really off color? Are you willing to step up and make a correction, or express your opinion about it? Because there's going to be, anytime you take anything on, that, Danielle, there's going to be blowback. Are you prepared for it? Are you prepared for the consequence? Are you comfortable enough in yourself to say, "Oh, I know some shit's gonna come my way, fine." you know, because what you just said, Ken, about the fear of asking. know, the fear of being curious and expressing that curiosity and exploring that curiosity. You don't have to be afraid of me. That's for sure.
You're my Desmond Tutu, Terry Burrell. You are.
Well, I'll just say this last, and I think I addressed this the last time. People of color too can come off with an anger and an attitude and a sharpness that make you seem inaccessible and makes people afraid to ask a question. Okay, so personally, I don't care how dumb. I don't care if the question sounds dumb. What I can't take is a dumb attitude because you don't know, because you're ignorant, and you're making assumptions because you're ignorant. That is something that's intolerable to me.
Terry, you make so much sense to me. Ken, why are you laughing?
I love to hear Terry talk. She does all the cheesy shit. I work with her, and please do not ask her any questions that you do not want to know. Because she will tell.
Hey, I can be warm and fuzzy.
Sorry?
I said there are times when I can be warm and fuzzy, but
You're
now
warm,
if I'm not
warm
if you
and
need.
fuzzy. And then you ask her the wrong thing, she's going to be hot and fuzzy.
She once told me she was going to make a voodoo doll of me and stick pins in it.
And you know why?
I do know. I deserved it. Absolutely. Yeah, I love that you bring that up because I've had interesting experiences, both wonderful conversations like this, and I've had experiences in professional situations where I have been screamed at by younger people who know nothing of what I've done and none of my history in this business in front of other professional people. And I did not know what to do in that situation. So I just backed off and I just said, thank you for expressing how you feel. But I thought it's just, there's no way this situation can go anywhere without being escalated. I thought what I was asking was a very legitimate question. Clearly, the person receiving the question did not. I had a question about working on what I called a Black play because, like African American, that was a perfectly acceptable term, at least in professional theater circles that I've traversed in for decades, until 2 years ago when it wasn't. I've even listened to a lot of the talks that have been available to help white folks learn what it is we need to know in those conversations. And I even remember learning that the term Black play was considered derivative and not to use it, although casting offices have very short lingo for everything. But
what were you supposed to call it?
Apparently, it's the appropriate terminology would be a play about Black characters or a play by a Black author. But a Black play.
Oh, you mean a Black play?
Right. What? What?
Ah.
No, this is new terminology. Listen, we are being educated. This is new terminology that we are listening to. We're learning from this.
Okay.
This is
I've never heard that, but okay. I mean, I can understand why somebody wouldn't want it called a Black, reduce it to just a Black play. It's a play. I understand it. I understand it because we're still so entrenched in this country about race. So if white people think it's a Black play, they're not going to come. If Black people think it's about a white play, they're not going to come. So I get it. I get that. But,
I'm sitting here trying to figure out how to take the essence of particularly the two women on this call so I could just spray some of it in conversations and just go, I just need a little balance here.
Well, I will tell you when Ken and I were working on Ethel in Atlanta, we had a production
about Ethel
meeting.
Waters for anyone who
Ethel Waters, yeah. It was a play we worked on called Ethel.
You did.
And we did
you
it
did
in
Eyes on
theaters.
the Sparrow or a different play?
No, it's ours. It's our own production. But
yeah, go ahead.
But at the production meeting, I said, I don't want this to be promoted as the Black play. And of course, the Black people in the room clutched their pearls. I said, look, she was not just she happened to be African American or Black, but she's a successful American, period.
Yes.
period.
And a
Like
great
Irving
performer.
Berlin or any other, at her point, I guess you would have considered her an immigrant, although that's not really how her peeps came to this country. But she's a successful American, and I don't want the emphasis to be about it's the black play. So I get it. I didn't want it to be reduced to that, limited to that. She belonged to everybody. She was popular with all kinds of audiences,
Absolutely.
including Europe. So come and see her for that, because she was a wonderful and incredible creative individual, not because she was the black play.
I heard a male voice in there. Was it you, Saw? You were about to say something.
Yeah. The this the conversation at this point reminds me. It brings to mind 2 points that stuck with me from the inclusion sensitivity training that I met coming back post shutdown. A lot of things were said. I took a lot of notes, but there were 2 things that I remember without the notes. One of them was about intention, and it was the difference between a person's intention when they're saying something or talking about something to someone or to others, and how or their intention in an action. The difference between the intention and how it is received. And for the first time, I heard someone say, good intention is good intention. But if it was received badly, it's still worth a conversation. And it just made me think about a lot of things in a different way. The second thing that I remember, which relates to it, it was a kind of an axiom. And what they told us, they said, look, maybe instead of calling people out, try to call people in.
Beautiful.
It's very, calling people out is easy. A knee-jerk reaction, you can do it. Bam, bam. You say, what? Here's an answer. What do you think you are doing? This is why you got it wrong, etc., etc., etc. But they offered to us calling people in to, take some of the sting out of conversations that could maybe open a door to better understanding. If you don't understand something, I can say, look at you, you are a fool, etc., 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 call you out. Or I can say, okay, the perspective that you are presenting, here's an alternative, etc. Is that really what you think? Are you open to hearing an alternative, etc., etc.? You see how it goes on from there. Those are 2 things that came. In the meantime, when I think about the younger generation in America, we can talk globally because it does relate, but in America in particular, I think about the challenge that they have ahead of them, because, America is what it is. The experiences that we have had, individuals, as people groups, as races, as credos, as people from different countries, trying to find our way inside of this American system. It is what it is. But today, we have people attempting to ban books that would explain things that have happened in America, that certain individuals have decided that they don't want the majority of people to read about. For whatever the reason is, books are being banned of actual history. And on the other side, or in addition to that, voting rights are being rolled back that would allow the mass of people who feel one way to vote for someone supporting their idea. Now, if that idea is a balanced education, but you don't have the opportunity to vote and say, well, I want to vote for this person who can offer that to us, what kind of situation are we in? So young people now who may or may not be educated, you know, for one thing, okay, someone who does not understand who is Arnold Manjoli, okay, they're reacting to you as if you are someone else. They're not reacting to you. Now you just represent an idea for them. Is black play an appropriate way to address it? It doesn't even matter for that individual. Have they looked that up? Who is a consortium that says, no, black play is okay. No, black play is not. They are not looking at that. They're just deciding, okay, based on my group of people, we don't like that, and you can't say it, so not. But what do they do in the broader sense? All of these young people coming up now, think about the ones who don't even have access to just simple education. They are telling people that slaves were like, people who wanted to come to America to get a better job, to look for opportunity. They came from Africa. Can you imagine? So in 30 years, the people that are getting that type of education, what do you think they're going to meet when they meet a kid who went to to a historical black college? It's like, whoa. We are living in two completely different worlds. And if we don't have the opportunity to vote for who the most people want to see, if the Supreme Court will decide whatever they want to decide based on who put them in power, what sort of America are we coming into? I'm just saying that to say, I hope that individuals, the same thing you were saying earlier, Kenneth, like when you try to do your best towards the people around you, if you feel like you want to give some knowledge, give it. If you don't, you don't. You can't tell people to use etiquette. You want to get off the train and somebody stands in the middle of the door. They try to get on the train before you. You're going to try to give them a lesson? No. Why? You can put yourself in jeopardy. It's hot. Wow, everybody does not come from the same thing. So what do we do with that? They're setting the country up now to have some generations of people who have no idea how America even came to be. And how those of us who know something about how are we meant to deal with that? Obviously, I'm not asking this for an answer. It's just what I was thinking about since I read those questions that you sent.
Thank you for sharing that.
I have to get off, you guys.
Beautiful. Thank you, Sah.
Okay.
Thank you for sharing your time with us.
Oh, see you.
We will finish up shortly. Adore you. Thank you, my friend.
Peace and love. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Blessings. It's really good to see you all again.
This
Thank
is great.
you. Same here.
Same here.
All the
Thank
best.
You, Sah.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You guys, speaking of education, a lot of our speaking of the miseducation of us of the world, and a lot of what is our responsibility, and where have we failed in theater and performing arts about history? A lot of us get our history, unfortunately, from performing. A lot of young people do from the performing arts, from movies and TVs. And what is this slippery slope? Or is there a slippery slope when it comes to fantasy casting, or when it comes to non-traditional casting? Is there a danger in that? Is there just no answer? Just what is, when we think about young people not getting an education about history in the schools or at home, we can't educate people at home if the parents that we don't know ourselves. What is our responsibility, and where do we go from with shows that are written in a idealistic way, or in a, I forgot the word people are using now. What's the word?
Cultural appropriation type of thing? Or?
It's not it's a word where they aspire, aspiration, aspirational. That's a whole thing now about writing things of aspiration, where you aspire for this to be this world. But when a 4 or 5-year-old child sees this world, they see something that's set in 1920s, and this cop comes in, this detective, black guy comes in with a gun and say, "You all get out of here, don't go fight neighborhood. When they see that, so when they see someone in history and they read a magazine, read a book that said, "Oh, this person was a lawyer or cop in 1950," and they would say, "No, I saw a cop in 1920 in this play," and so that's nothing new. There's nothing new about Rosa Parks getting on the bus. Why didn't she take a taxi? She could have taken a taxi. No, this happened for real. Someone really said this. Performer,
Wow.
recording artist. So because of what's our responsibility? No answer. You don't have to have an answer. It's something that's been on my mind about telling stories.
Well, there is the consequence of broadening your mind and this culture now of erasure, blurring, and that's the thing that's going to be the real bridge to traverse, because we want to make everyone fully aware of our history, our true real history that has not been taught still to this day. The books are better, but they're not great. And saying to the world, but we are more than that. We can play all the roles that we can play, but we don't want you to forget our history as it pertains to where we come from. That's going to be a huge blurry line to get through. And as far as having conversations with people and sometimes having a closed feeling about it, I'm definitely one of those people. You can talk to me. I am very open. I'm like Terry. You ask me a question, no, be ready. But I'm also of the mind of, if you are trying to, we're going to be better and we're going to do better and this is a safe space and then do it. Do it. You stepped to the threshold of the door. Are you crossing the threshold or not? Because I'm going to be one who's going to challenge that if it comes up. It's not disrespectful and it's not out of line. It comes in the pretense of whatever context we're in. But if you say to me, it's safe to speak up if you feel uncomfortable about such and such, and I feel uncomfortable about such and such, I'm going to speak up. Now, you're standing at the threshold. How do you handle it? So I am sometimes more suspicious of the large talk. Be about it. Don't talk about it.
Yeah.
That's where I am. And I'm not necessarily saying it's a good place to be. We're all growing up with our own roads that we have walked. And I have seen what I have seen and felt what I have felt and dealt with what I have dealt with, just like we all have. So this is just my own particular way that I feel about it. I will most certainly meet you at that door, but I need you to cross it. That's all I need. We could have that conversation. That's all.
I'm listening to Danielle and I'm feeling like, well, if we hug at that doorway, we're in each other's space right away. If we can just open and embrace one another, then I'm hearing you and you're hearing me.
Right.
That's what it boils down to.
We're
really
all open to
hearing each other. If you're willing. Part of the word. If you're willing to do it without prejudgment, to just be open. The other word.
Yeah, that actually is a perfect segue, Terry, into my closing question, because I promised you all I'd try to have you out of here in under an hour. So same question I closed with last time. Grateful, ready, open, willing. Which one resonates for you right now and why? We're in a different place than we were 2 years ago. Maybe it's the same one you had then. Maybe it's something different. Anything feel like this is where I'm at?
I don't know what I said the last time, but I'll tell you what I feel. Open. I'm open. I consider myself an open individual. Not just that I want someone to listen to me and understand my perspective. I want to understand theirs as well. Everybody has a history. Everybody has a story. I can't pretend that I know what your story is. And even if I'm not comfortable with your reaction to something, I am open to try to understand why I'm uncomfortable and why you are uncomfortable. I'm open.
Thank you. I love that.
I'm ready to get back to work.
Yes. Yes. And we're ready for you. I'm just going to chime
I'm
in
ready
here,
for you to
Danielle.
get back to work too.
I'm so tired of being at the bottom of a bottle of rosé.
More glass for me.
Danielle,
I'm so tired. Oh,
I just want to chime in because you said something in there at the beginning about I've been sitting on my couch waiting for it to begin. And I thought, didn't your production of Once on This Island close from the pandemic right at the beginning? And you're ready. I mean, to me, that's so ready. Waiting for life to begin is where you paused. And now it's time to pick up. You go, girl.
yeah.
Danielle, that sounds like the opening line to a play that you should write.
If I had that kind of muse
Don't
in
wait.
my spirit,
Don't wait. I mean,
I
this
don't
is
write. It's not what I do. That's
Oh,
not.
I
my
understand.
industry.
I understand. I get
But
it.
if I did, oh, there'd be 5 or 6 plays by this point.
You know how many people know how to write and are just looking for someone with ideas to collaborate with?
This
They're
is
out
true.
there. Let me just make a public announcement. If you're somebody who writes and needs a great collaborator to share ideas and to write together, I recommend Danielle Greaves. You're here on my
Absolutely.
screen, but I don't know where.
I could just see it.
Ready to get back to work. Thank you.
I'm willing. I guess all of them. I'm grateful that I'm exploring other cultures, and this whole thing has made me think of what are other people doing?
Mhm.
I learned a lot from stand-up. I learned a lot about cultures, the nuance, and from stand-up. Some of it can be non-PC, which I appreciate.
Mhm.
To me, and that's
Definitely, you know I do.
that's another meeting. But I've listened to some. There's some Asian comedians on Netflix. There's a transgender female that I've listened to.
Robert Tran.
Who?
Robert Tran.
No, Fire something Fire.
I know who you mean.
Yes, she's from I think Atlanta area, but something Fire.
Curly red hair.
Yes, a large woman. Anyway, I don't remember her name, but anyway, Asian, East Indian, Latinx, who I've seen a lot of Latinx performers. The trans, and who else? This African lady, a comedian who lives in England, her point of view. So that's been very exciting to me. And then it reminds me of that we are the same. You can switch, I can tell those same jokes with the little different names and a change of the food. And it's so much fun. It's so much fun. So I'm grateful that I'm such a race man a lot that I'm glad that I can embrace and learn from the other cultures. And race man is an old term, maybe from the 20s, that is very nuanced. So that's a whole nother thing. So it's not racist, but that's a term for race man.
You know, I've had the opportunity a couple of times. I'll make this real short. When I've gone to high schools, usually I get invited to talk about what it is I do and blah, blah, blah. And I look at that class and they're very mixed. And I'll say, don't be afraid to go up to somebody who doesn't look like you and start a conversation. Be curious. The world is a very easy place to access and relatively inexpensive. Spend time with somebody whose eyes are not shaped like yours, or whose skin color is not like yours, or who maybe worship in a way that you don't. You know, step out of your comfort zone. So I think when we have the opportunity to say that to young people, especially the young people that are in our families, talk to them. When they say something that's ignorant, stop it. Check them. You know, I don't care if they don't like what I say or not. That just means I don't have to buy your little ignorant behind a Christmas present.
Oh, Auntie.
Terry, I
But
can't.
no, I'm saying, I will check your behind. I don't. I will check you at the door. I don't care. And especially if you're a member of my immediate family, I don't want to hear that kind of ignorance. You know, don't knock it if you haven't tried it. If you don't know, shut your mouth.
And
Yeah.
and on that
Come on,
wise
QT.
and on that wise and
My
wonderful
nieces
note,
and nephews know.
with, with all of that good advice brimming over, I just want to thank our guests. Truly, Saw, thank you, and Terry and Kenneth and Danielle. I am personally so grateful to have spent this hour together. I could just hang out with you guys all night long, and I just love you so much. And I'm really grateful for your sharing your hearts and your communication from all the different places we are. I don't mean geographically, I mean in our hearts and our souls journeys and everything that we're all going through individually on our path and collectively on our path together. And I feel very strongly that what you shared tonight is so valuable for people to see and hear and take in. And it's really good to have this check-in. And it's really good with so many things going on in the world pulling our attention to just focus on this for an hour and hear what you have to say. So I can't thank you enough for that. I'm going to end the broadcast and we can hang out here for a moment and close amongst ourselves. But thank you everyone for joining us. And again, I remind you, everyone contributes their time here and asks only that you pay it forward by going to theactorsfund.org or Broadway Cares, Equity Fights AIDS, and just throw them a few bucks. And that would be the best way to say thank you, because we'll all, we'll all be able to share in that together, us and you, over time. So
Thank you, Arnold.
thank you, Ellen, for joining us. Thank you for Facebook users all, and and be well. And we look forward to seeing you again at Grateful, Ready, Open, Willing. Okay, and end the broadcast. Yes.